Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The understanding of the transmutation of the fields of the universe will become the new occupation of man. In a way, up to now, we looked into the skies to see the UFO. Mankind will look into the skies with the eye of the soul, not with the eye of the man. And universe and unicos is oyster. You got to understand that with a new understanding of the fields of the universe in motion, what we call energy, fields of the universe in the uniformity of the motion we call plasma, now has to be understood. Now has to be integrated into the structure of what we call life of the man in the space. We need to bring this change in, as now mankind has matured enough in numbers to be able to bring that burden of the change for the rest. You'll be amazed in the next few weeks and months how the drug traffickers will dump and try to make the dogs and the cats addict because they can't reach their bosses. And you do the same with your cat and dog, but just buy them ahead and put them on the line, the hours that is transmuted. And we have set our system that there is no hacking. Now you have to understand how to bring the two fields of your soul, of physicality, you will call the spirit, and the soul of the man, to work together. That does not need the brain cell, but it works without it, the way you shall do when you become the passengers of the universe, as your brain in this amino acid cannot exist. We don't have a brain between the earth and the sun. It's got to be part of the knowledge of man in space that sooner or later mankind will come to understand that the totality of the knowledge shared belongs not only to man. And is the right of every citizen of this planet. And it's the right of all of us to have access to it. We don't make a game of it, we make a life of it. Keshe Foundation is set to bring that change to technology, and we will have many enemies. Those who want us not to be there, and how they can bring that condition for them not to be. Try to understand what the emotion is. Try to understand how you create that emotion. Try to understand in what condition of physicality you create the strength with the interaction of the field of the soul that gives you that emotion. And then go to your soul and create the same field of strength that the interaction with the soul of physicality creates the same emotion. Then if you become mature to this, then it doesn't matter if the soul is the protector of the physicality or the physicality is protector of the soul. They work in a synchronized manner because they are both aware of everything. When you work in that strength, all the other souls and physicalities work on the same strength, then man shall not lie, man shall not cheat, man shall not kill, because I'm hungry, I need fields, and I'm given fields. It's got to be understood by majority of the people. And gradually, but all from the point of the first education, what it means to live with the soul, and what it means the existence of the spirit, or the dimension of physicality. Our children will be educated to the knowledge of the universe from birth, the way they inherited the X chromosome and became paralyzed and become all the diseases they caught. It's just the energy and emotion which has brought that change. So the same shall be when the man understands this as a childhood, within the father's and mother's energy fields that has no X chromosome or Y. When the children of the man are created from the fields of the soul of the man, man shall bring no imperfect child to this world. That time has come. And that time is amongst us. And it's the time for us to bring it. In a coming time, in a very, very short time, as we are working in the background and development of technologies, as our team have to understand it, there'll be no room for vaccination. We transfer the energy of what we call the virus, which your body of dimension of physicality could be a virus on this planet, but on another planet or position in the universe is your food, to understand the transmutation from position to position. So you do come to the point that if you want to have a measles protection, you put your child this channel, this time allows this to be received as an energy. There'll be no ADHD, there will be no autism because of the mixture of the viruses and the injections of fake ways they do deliberately to them. Now, gradually, your eyes opening up, the capability and the possibilities which is now is open to mankind. You go on channel 24 and you can have as much apple as you like, but you won't pull an apple, you won't kill an apple. You want to have a lamb, you go on channel 26, you get to taste the food and everything of it, and you don't need to slaughter an animal. Now you understand how extensive this will touch you, and how satellites are needed, because the electronic satellites have a limitation of physicality. We need the soul satellite, which is of the same and transmute the same and is there to give and to exist. I made man in the image of myself. Is our creator ADHD, or is he a drug addict? None. And so should be the man. Now the man has to know. And this is the cornerstones of the teaching. This is the cornerstones of understanding the embodiment of the cosmic rays, the soul, the ganses, and everything else which goes with it. What will be the next step for you to understand the strength of the cosmic rays? Which one you need, which one you don't need? How do you attract it to yourself, and how you reject some because you don't need it, even though they're on target? Very soon, once we start these systems to go public for you to tap into, you will tell us how you feel. You will tell us, today I didn't eat, not interested, because today I received what I need as energy through all the channels which is set up by Keshe Foundation. We govern the planet, not pieces of land. We govern through the soul and technology and knowledge, not by the gun policy and whatever sits with it. We need your support to be able to bring that change scientifically, correctly, and with the process and understanding of the whole lot, that we do not bring the change by wars, we bring change by love and creation of new country. I hope you understand what's on the table today and what is the part of the teaching. The main topic and the main objective of today is we do not need intermediaries. And nobody can protect the right of the Creator when themselves are abusers of the name of the Creator in the name of Ayatollah and the rest of it. I hope you understood the teaching of today. It has come to an end, and you understand scientifically why to the abuse of the man by the religion. Unless you enjoy an intermediary because you still think, I haven't found either, so I double in weaknesses of my own lack of understanding. Look to understand, try to find out the knowledge, and at the same time try to be precise, that you don't need another intermediary. You understand the knowledge that there is no need for intermediary anywhere in the universe. Always said, my message hasn't changed. It's for you to understand and mature to. When I said to the professors at Jeddah University in early 2012-13, when they wanted to send a student to the KF SSI, in which direction do you get your student to pray and bend when it's traveling the span of the universe and the earth is rotating and they're upside down and they're in different part of the universe which rotates itself? Where do you find your God to pray to, unless your God is within you? Understanding the conduct. The message has not changed. And the technology and the knowledge has not changed. We just explain more of it and you understand it more freely.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 502nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 7th, 2023. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Kremen. I'll be host today once again, and once again we have the pleasure of the company of Mr. Mehran Keshe to deliver today's information and teachings of the plasma technology. And I believe he's ready, willing, and able to go. Is that right, Mr. Keshe? Hello.
Yes. Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge seekers of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. As usual, we welcome you back to 502nd teaching on this. We have a couple of messages for you. First of all, today we are in Amsterdam, and we officially invite through the channels of through Holland. We'll give a private meeting for the knowledge seekers of the what we call the home of the Keshe Foundation in Holland. Get in touch with your people. We wanted to keep it very quiet, but now we are here for another day or two, and through the right channels, you will be able to meet us. At least we can meet together. Not many of us, I think we'll be able to get together. Sometimes maybe Friday or later Saturday, we'll meet in one of the beautiful places in Amsterdam, and we, in a way, come back home. And we wanted to keep it very quiet, just for the Dutch. But if the Dutch knowledge seekers are what I call prepared to make the journey to Amsterdam, we're here. We now sit through the channels of the Keshe Foundation in Holland to be able to attend this meeting. It'll be a pleasure to meet you again after 12, 14 years of gap. We used to give lectures in Holland on a regular basis, weekly and monthly. For a long time, that's where the main support of the Keshe Foundation built up between Holland and Belgium, and became a worldwide disease. We'll let you know where the venue will be, and if by sometime next 24 hours we know the numbers, we know the size of the room we need to take up. It'll be nice to meet you all back again, and we'll see where we go. Regarding to the meeting of the 11th of November, we have upgraded the 11th of November to a magnificent presentation. We'll present the technology of space beyond the imagination of man. Systems will be brought in, technologies will be shown that the present space technologies cannot even dream is existing and is operation. We will limit the number of the people, of the knowledge seekers that can come in on the weekend of the 11th and the 12th, and we will be stepping up the presentation not only to the masters, but to the space agencies, to scientific organizations, and to the press. We will show technologies which man could not imagine is at the present in the hand of the man. And then we build on it, and we go forward. What I call what we put at around about 300 people, we'll increase it to about 500, and those knowledge seekers who are booked by the next few days, we keep that position. And the rest, what we call the seats, will be allocated to what we call major corporations who will come to see, and as ambassadors are invited. Expect to see things which have not even been discussed in the teaching. We have kept a lot of knowledge in the background because we thought man is not ready. Now, having the Chinese government with us as collaborators in development of technology, we release this knowledge to be seen in the West. Knowledge which even our own knowledge seekers do not understand exists within us. And then we take this progress forward to the next step. Those of you who are attending the week before the 11th of November, complete registration as soon as you can, because we are targeting the weekend plus the people who were with us last week in Manchester to bring to the next step of what we call the development of the technology. The London teaching for the week, it'll be an amazing teaching. I think some of those who attended the Manchester meeting understand what it means. The change it brings, and it brings to us, is not that we're going to change the world. We're going to increase the understanding of ourselves for our own work. In this process, we go one step further. We'll bring you to understand the limitation of transmutation and transportation, the limitation of what is possible to be done. In the coming weeks and months, massive new technologies will be released. Now that we have a step to the space development and space technology, and we have finished more or less teaching you the alphabet of the energy transformation, now we come to the space transmutation, coming to cosmic rays, coming to understand how to transport, transmute, and live in both dimensions. Understanding of the totality of the knowledge on both sides of the fence, as I call it. But depends what you want, what you have decided, which side of the fence you want to sit to watch. One side of the fence is the soul of the man, energy pack. One side of man is the soul of physicality, another energy pack. How do we interact this? How do we become to decide which one runs and which one shows and which one does what it does? In the long term, Keshe Foundation teachings will come to flourish in a different way. At the same time, through the development of the technology, Keshe Foundation in coming days will open a new channel, a new way, a new presentation of technology, of what we call to interact with the wellness of the man. Conditions which up to now were not and could not be understood can be brought under what we call new dimension of the work. Diseases that the doctors could not imagine can be changed in minutes and days, now will be offered to the scientific world. Conditions which we could not imagine can be handled so easily. By interaction of the fields, new technologies, new systems will be delivered, and it's already under use, that will bring the possibility of eradication of Parkinson, eradication of illnesses like ILS and other conditions. Very much eradication of what we call the neural system of the man, which cannot handle the physicality of the man. In connecting the soul of the man with the soul of physicality, and with it connecting to what we call the physical dimension of the man. Keshe Foundation, as we showed you and as we develop the technologies, in respect to coma, as we showed, it took us weeks and months of operation to bring back a coma in condition, as we saw with Naomi and other cases. Now the technology has developed in such a rapid way that it can be done within minutes. We'll open this side of the knowledge, hopefully with the permission of the Chinese government, Macau presentation of the health. We will show the effectiveness of the new breakthrough in science, where people with Parkinson, within days, hours, and minutes, walk away from the painful life which has been brought through the condition. We will open a new technology that will be delivered in conjunction with what we already developed, eradication of the cancer through the scientific world and through, again, working through the operation of ours in China. In a way, we transfer the knowledge to the doctors and we show them the system, and it's for them to use. We have tested this in many ways, but now in the past few weeks, we see an end to a lot of these things. Some of the results and tests from our side shows the 100% correct result has been achieved and can be achieved and can be developed over weeks and months, eradicating the what we call the paralysis of the body of the man in the physical dimension. This technology has been done very much before, but now is coming into flourishing. What we ask for and what we ask is to start up the new trials, what we call conversion of the energies of the man in a dimension of the soul of physicality to the what we call physicality of the man. These we have seen the results of. We know exactly what we've got to do. In a way, even our obesos and the systems we use in LENS and now into our service centers has become totally obsolete. I kept this technology back till the day, someday, like the conference in London comes, that the man can test. And now we are ready to show. We are ready to show most of the disease of the physicality of the man can be eradicated in a space, will not exist. In a way, is a gift. In a way, it's understanding how to transmute between and how to become physical dimension in another position and time. And then we'll see the next step. I always dreamt about the day where I'll be able to release this technology in its true sense. And London meeting is the venue. Will open new doors. You will not understand when he said the dead will rise and the man paralyzed in a wheelchair will walk in an instant. We'll bring this technology forward in a rapid way to bring that change. And this will start, has already started, in a very, what we call quiet way. Our doctors and our systems have been tested to show the correctness of it, that they understand. People who are using the system have felt the change in their body when they use it through our system internally. But now we take this even a step further, much, much further, because there's two choices. I can teach another 10 years to bring you to it, or now that you understand most of the knowledge, I can show it and I can deliver it, and then you have to understand it. What we say in English, the proof of the pudding is in eating it. We bring the pudding, see if you can eat it and understand it. Intellect, knowledge, science will become instantaneous transfer. Whatever is the knowledge of the man can be transferred instantaneously. Does not matter what language, what emotion. Going through the teaching of last week, sitting with the knowledge seekers, some of them old knowledge seekers, some of them loyal to the Keshe Foundation for years, I realized they've been waiting and waiting that that promise will complete. Now is time to complete. Delivery of the technologies beyond imagination of the man. Delivery of technologies which bring eradication of the illnesses from the physicality of the man will be shown. I tested this in China in the past few weeks, and it was amazing to see it. And I thought, knowledge seekers do not even understand what stands in front of them. They're too busy with physicality. They're too busy with understanding of nothing, and still waiting, as they did not understand the full comprehension, the full understanding of the technology. Maybe it's time to show, but not become magician, as you have the fundamental understanding of the technology, as many of you have understood. As I said to a knowledge seeker in the past few days, the biggest show on earth about the space technology will be shown on the 11th of November in London. A show will not show, but it shows what technology is and what the space technologies of today have to abandon. Will bring an end to nuclear warfare, will bring an end to greed of the man for every element of the creation. We are not here to impress. We are here to bring the change. And this change will be shown in its first step on the 11th of November in London. The venue is limited, and as I said to the head of the Keshe Foundation in the past few days, close the registration within the next few days. We'll increase the price to the position that no knowledge seekers can afford, because we want to bring in the world to see, as there is enough knowledge seekers who come in through the 200 sessions and through the other channels of the Keshe Foundation. Now it's time for the world to see, and for press to be impressed in what they denied themselves and humanity for past years. I'll show technologies in London on the 11th of November that will baffle the world of science, will change the course, and will bring what I plan to do for years. Knowledge and technologies which make most of the technology of today obsolete. This transformation and this transmutation in knowledge is needed to be brought in now that we have enough time to stop every other possibility of another cycle of war, as the man is not busy with something else. In London presentation, you will see some of the most amazing things as knowledge seekers that say, wow, it was in front of us and we didn't see it. He always talked about it, but now he shows it. Now you understand the change. Now you understand the limitation. Those of you who were in Manchester were touched by just what I call the first soft feathers of the knowledge in understanding yourself, in transmutation and transportational dimension of physicality, and understanding it, how you can do it. We'll bring and show technologies in London that will baffle the world of the science, that how much we have misunderstood and how much we've done wrong in our dimension of understanding the transmutation. We have reached the limitation of matter state life. Now we open a new horizon in energy life, dimension of the soul, dimension of understanding, interaction of the dimension of the fields, and not just a few amps and volts and watts, and just a few bits and bobs. You had enough time to play with magraphs. You had enough time to play with the star formation. I gave you enough knowledge to play with every possibility of every knowledge. And you, as usual, as naughty children, just played and played. Now it's time to show. It's time to bring the dimension of understanding and the challenges which face man in the dimension of the physical transportation and transmutation. Teaching of today is very simple. Teaching of today is, again, realizing you knowledge seekers sitting there for a week in front of me, how much you have played and how much more you need to play to be happy that you can do something, to be happy that you can understand how situations and conditions can be created. In understanding of the technology, in understanding of what we call the totality of the work of the energies of the body of the man, we come to realize something very important. We come to realize how much we can work. Rick, I have a problem. I don't know how these people are moving around on my screen.
I think probably I do the same thing if I move my marker on the screen. It seems like everybody has access to the screen who are on the panelists. So it's a different whiteboard than normal.
Why?
I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe we need to restart the whiteboard. Somehow I'm co-editing the whiteboard. So
Yeah,
just try starting it again. Maybe I pushed a button that I shouldn't have pushed.
It says new on the panel.
Well, try again, see what happens.
This is new whiteboard. It's very strange.
Okay, there's a key here, allow panelists to share a whiteboard.
Yeah. Where do you see that one?
But then it's only
okay.
Host.
It's done. I've taken them out. Have I? Yep, they're all gone. No, they're back in again.
Let me take that off the allow panelists and see. It doesn't say anything about co-hosts, so that's what's a little suspect for me here.
Yeah, it's a new arrangement, new update by the Zoom.
Okay, so I disabled the panelists to share whiteboard. Can you still share? Because you're...
Wait. It says unknown error.
Okay.
Just wait. Unknown error.
All right, so...
Wait one second. It says collaborating. I don't want a collaboration. I don't want this.
So I think only the host can share right now because I've disabled the panelists.
Okay, I'll try again. This is unknown. Create unknown. What this is got. You've done something now. What, by disabling?
Yeah, let me re-enable it and see if you should be able to do something there now.
It's got a flash in front of the box, new. Presenting. Now I'm back again. Oh, okay. You're in it now. Yep. Oh, it works. It works. It does work. But how does it?
So far, so good.
So far, so good. But I now lost everything which we were used to. How do you rub it up? Can you see my writing on the board?
Yes.
Oh, it's me. Good. Now I'm going to see how I'm going to raise it. No. No. I don't see a rubber anymore. Oh. There it is. I found it. Listen me. The knowledge increases and we become more ignorant to it. Okay.
There's also an undo at the bottom right. One of the insignia, the first insignia in the bottom right.
It shows the panel. It's upgrading it to something. It's downgrading up. Okay. Going back to the teaching. In understanding something which we never understood, but we emphasize again and again on it for you to understand. In a dimension of the physicality of the man. Oh, very nice shape. Now, where do I find colors? Okay. Yeah. We know in the dimension of physicality of the man, man has no physical dimension if there is not an environmental field, which means we have no dimension, if there was no magnetical gravitational field of the earth around us. If we move to another dimension, if we move to another position, and the environment changes, we'll find out that us as man will not exist. This is a very nice trick. But what will be interesting for most of us is if we change the field, the environmental field, do we become invisible? In the field dimension of the man, on earth, we have a physicality. When we change the fields, we disappear. What kind of new creatures would be us manifesting ourselves at? Is the possibility of a line of life changes? Or do we still have that possibility, that what I call having the soul inside it? Having the soul that can bring the dimension of physicality through the soul of physicality in a new condition of life. In a way, if we change, if we bring a new condition, a new environment, how would we look? Would we trust to be able to go back to our original colors and conditions and life as a man? Would we think as a man in a dimension, or would we think as a new creature, new understanding according to the environment we manifest ourselves? The truth about all this is that have we understood that we have a nuclear bomb with massive radiation capabilities, that is a cosmic rays, sits within the center of the body of the man. We call it the soul of the man. It is more energetic, it's more powerful in strength than the whole of the physicality put together. Body of the man is made of billions and billions of cells, and each cell itself has an energy to maintain its position and the condition of life. So the body of the man physically is a energy packs times billions, trillions. And that energy in the dynamic motion transfer of the fields to what we call its blood creates a cage to hold this in. One energy pack encaging another. But there is an interconnection between these two that allows one to be embedded inside the other. In a way, if you look at it in a bigger scale, you have your physical dimension outside from the interaction of these two. It's very much like gravity and magnetical field. In the interaction, we create the mass. Physicality. There is no difference if you call the soul of physicality magnetical field and the soul of the man the gravitational field, with the capability that one can change position with the other. Through an interconnection, through an interline power level, what we call common denominator, they can switch from one to another. Then this switch will decide in interaction with the environment how you manifest yourself at a point and a place. You switch the fields to the dimension of physicality, what do we have? We are going to have an amazing condition where what we call the dimension of the interaction, dimension of the position and the position of the fields can create the different dimension of physicality of the man in the same environment. What it means, you can change slightly the emotion, the dimension, and the direction. And then in that process, you can turn from being a white man to a black man. Because the environment of the earth has not changed. Is the field emotion of the place you live in allows you to do the transmutation. You look like Chinese, you speak Chinese, you understand the emotion of the Chinese language. Because now you kept within the gravitational magnetic field of the planet Earth. Is the inertia and a position in respect to the center and a condition of the fields of the inertia created, which gives you that environment. Don't forget, when you enter a new environment, let's say from England, you go to China, the soul of the Chinese dictates part of that inertia. The soul of emotion of the nation, culture, language, dictates that part of inertia. That's why you manifest yourself if you decide as a Chinese and understand the whole lot. Then the language and the dictionaries are not needed, because now you don't need to press this and it gives you the meaning but not the emotion of. Now when you speak, you understand your soul has the emotion of the feeling of the word too. Now you decide to change the gravitational field of the earth to the moon. Now you manifest yourself in that position in the moon as a man of the moon. Is there a life on the moon? Is the collective life and interaction of your soul with it teaches you how to communicate, how to exist? Or you create a new dimension that the interaction of the emotion of the soul of the man and the soul of his guardian man translates that to the existence on that planet. You learn the language, you learn the feature, not out of transmutation, but by the collection of the interaction of the fields of the environment, of the soul of the people, entities who live in that environment. They transfer the energy, they transfer the knowledge to you as much as you transfer to them. It's not only the transmutation by the physical dimension, is interaction of the soul of the man in transmutation that interacts with the soul of the citizens of that environment that allows you to be part of, to be understood, and to live like them. Now you understand how some of the citizens of the universe live amongst us, talk like us, show emotion like us. They fall in love like man, but they have no intention to show their existence, where they come from. Now we graduate into that knowledge. Now with understanding this, with the training we have started in Manchester and follow up in London, in Beijing, and courses and sessions will be put by the Keshe Foundation, the world governments will bring that new dimension in. It would not be exclusivity of the rich. It would not be exclusivity of scientists. It will not be exclusive of the man. Even a dog can be educated into this knowledge as we teach the soul, not the physicality. Does not matter if you walk on 2 or 4 or 10. Now you understand how the environmental condition in collective understanding of interaction of the fields makes man knowledgeable of the dimension and the position in the universe as he manifests himself in that position on time and space. But once you interacted, once you transmutate, once you gather the knowledge, it becomes part of the universal knowledge. You move to another position in the universe, you gain the knowledge from them, and the knowledge you gain from the previous positions will become the knowledge of the new citizens of the environment, in the area you landed in. Understanding, in moving forward, in a way, adding to the knowledge, we add to the knowledge of the universe. Do not forget that you are part of the intellect of the universe. And you become that position and time and space. In a way, when your soul lands in an environment, and then you decide to manifest your soul of physicality, which now embeds inside the soul. Then in the interaction with the soul of the citizens, you'll be knowledgeable in the interaction to the whole knowledge of the environment you have manifested yourself. Now you understand how the fields of the soul of physicality in dimension of interaction understanding can manifest itself and move to the position of the new strength which you have manifested yourself in. In a way, man will become very fast aware of how to move in and out of the position without really knowing anything about it. In a way, even if you take off and land by mistake somewhere you did not think, imagine existed, you will find your soul. And then you decide if the soul of physicality which you embedded with you will manifest itself in that dimension or not. This is why we keep on asking you. This is why we keep on teaching you how to understand the emotion and how to complete the understanding of the work of the soul of the man. Then you understand the soul of the man is nothing but an energy. The soul of physicality of the man is nothing but the energy pack. And then you understand all we have talked about from the beginning of the teaching, 500 and something before and before that, is about transmutation and transportation of the packs of energies. You call it the soul, you call it the physicality, you call it both in the dimension of transportation and transmutation. That's all it is. Now we have to gain the knowledge how to switch between the two, irrespective of environment. Then man, fear of transmutation will walk away from him, as it's become a natural and a normal process in understanding of the totality of the existence in the universe. And if you understand this, we go back, as I always say in Quran, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have completed the knowledge of the creation. We have completed in understanding the process of the creation, how we create ourselves, how we manifest ourselves according to the time, place, position, strength of the fields, and in understanding of the totality. Rick, they're asking to change your background as I close the whiteboard. In understanding the totality, in understanding the reality of the existence, now we come to the next step. We come to the next understanding. How do we transfer one energy to another? To the energy. What is the common denominator link between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality? And if you understand that, then it gives you a link to the Creator, because it comes through the same mystery. It comes through the same path. And how do we communicate? How do we connect to the rest of the universe? In teaching of the past, I have touched on this. I explain this in a very soft way. But in the coming time, in the coming months, in the coming years, we'll show you more and more in how to connect, in how to add on, in how to understand the process of the creation and transmutation and transportation. Depends, if you want to travel in the dimension of physicality, you go for the transportation, the way we do, 18 hours on a flight from one position to another. If you want to go through the transportation and transmutation of the fields of the planetary system, the same distance, instead of 18 hours, 18 seconds. And then if you learn how to travel with the strength field of the cosmic rays of the higher order, the same position in milliseconds. That's all the difference is. How do you want to ship the package called the physicality of the man? And what method of the transportation you want to use? If you understood this, it's the same as what you do today. We call it different strength magnetic fields. You call it a donkey, a car, a jumbo jet, a rocket. There you use more fuel, you feed it more to get something out of it. Here you go by the order of magnitude, strength of the field's interaction. Otherwise, it's the same soul. Otherwise, it's the same soul of physicality using different method of transportation. Then you understand, when you travel with a donkey, you need the saddle to sit on to carry you. Or if you're good enough, you sit on the donkey. When you go to travel by the jet, they sit you in the seat to strap you up and everything else. And then they put more fuel, you go faster. And then if you're in a rocket technology, you shake and shiver, maybe it doesn't explode on the way up, and then you go to the condition of weightlessness. Now there is no weightlessness, but change the donkey to the rocket using different magnetic field strength, you find new dimension of the emotion of the soul. You find the speeds of the interaction needs faster understanding of the position, time and place. Then this brings man a new intellect, a new knowledge, becoming the what we call passengers of the universe, the true passengers of the universe, not with the monkey thought of the Americans and not with the imaginary talks in the fancy books and fantasy of the dream of the man. Because you make that dream the reality, because you understand the interaction of the fields of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality. How these two interact, how you position them, how you distance them from each other, how you use the different layer of the strength of these in respect to each other. You decide your method of existence. You decide your position and the foundation of life anywhere in the universe. Man decided to encase the soul and give it a cage which is flexible. We call it the body of the man. We chose the earth to manifest itself with 2 legs and 2 arms. Now, if you decide to use a higher order dimension of the physicality, then you still be on this planet, maybe invisible, but understanding more of the knowledge of the creation because you interact in different dimension field stream. The atmosphere of the earth did not change if you were on a donkey or a jumbo jet. A jumbo jet or a rocket has no more intelligence than the donkey. Maybe the donkey is more intelligent than a piece of metal. At least it can make a decision where to turn and how to turn and where to sit, where the plane has no, where the rocket has no decision. Somebody pushes a button and that's it. You have to be that donkey, which still carries the emotion, the understanding of interaction with the environment. It's a water I don't cross. It's grass I eat. I'm going to enjoy this one and not the other. I'm going to swim in this water and not the other. So in a way, we are back to the position of the creation with no intelligence, but understanding of the emotion. And then that interaction of the emotion of the man with his environment brings man that intellect. Does not matter where you are, because the knowledge of drinking and eating and walking on earth has no application and no need on planet Zeus, because there is no air, there is no water, and life is in dimension of fields of the universe. What's the use to carry a bucket of water and a sack of hay? There is no donkey, and there is no condition for a donkey to live on this new position, time and space. And this is what the lack of knowledge has made the donkey of the man on this planet. And the more we become ignorant of it, the more we deny the rest of it, the higher degree are given professors and scientists, because we become more narrow-minded, more focused on ignorance of the totality of the creation. Sometimes when I sit in front of the scientific world, I see them in understanding of the creation less than that donkey. Because in a way they are saddled with the ignorance and pride of the man and have forgotten about the true life of existence, that the man is created out of the energy of the universe. It'll come from it and it'll go back to it. It's just how clever you become to use that position and time to, in a way, advance your knowledge, in a way, enjoy more as time comes the beauty of the creation of the Creator. Because one way or another, in one position or another, in a dimension of physicality, in a dimension of field of the soul of the man, in a dimension of interaction of the fields of the universe, there is always an end. The only entity who will come from the beginning to the end is the creator, and no other creature in the universe. But you have to understand, we are part of that creation. So we are responsible for it. We are there to bring that change, elevation of the understanding of the creation of even our own creator in the dimension of this creation. It cannot exist if there wasn't an environment to confirm its existence. You are the God of your own physicality, and your child is a God of his own physicality. Is there only one God? Is there only one existence? Without the existence of the child, there's no confirmation of the father. So, in understanding this, we understand, we decide the emotion of how the father feels and the emotion of how a child. And in the time and place and the collective society of the existence of the fields of the universe and the universe. This dilemma will bring an end to the religions once they understood. And soon will make it to be understood by those who make themselves to be religious and the religious leaders, as they understand the time of cheating the man through his ignorance of the knowledge of his creation is over. I hope today I open your eyes a little bit more to another dimension, a little bit more to understand more of the teaching of the past, a little more for you to understand you're in possession of the capabilities that you denied yourself and no one else. Extend the dimension of the soul of the man. Extend the dimension and strength of the soul of physicality of the man. And then decide in which field interactions you want to manifest yourself. You can create the condition of the Mars on this planet and show yourself how you will look on Mars. Do I like this? I don't like the color of the skin. I'm going to another planet. Do I like to crawl like animals on this planet? I want something I can go faster. And then you find out, man's expectation of the life in the universe will change to the position of the perfection of life, where we all strive to reach the ultimate goal. To become part of the creation and become part of the creator. And then at that point, man has matured to the knowledge of this universe. Now we have to understand the process of the knowledge of the unicos and every other universe within it, as each one is unique, as is each man on this planet. Then we learn the knowledge of sharing in a different dimension of the field, the strength of the creation, which the man is blind to at this moment of time. But in time we'll understand. The point of the teaching of today is to open your eyes in a way that you understand the next cycle of teachings which come in what strength of the fields I want to travel, in what strength of the field I want to manifest soul of physicality, in which dimension of field of strength I want my two emotions to be in balance with each other, that I can confirm my existence to the best beauty of Mitra. And then we come to the beginning and end, and we see the beauty of the creator and the creation. This was part of, in essence, of the teachings of the past week in Manchester. And in London, we create conditions that some of you will be able to go to the condition and dimension of the transmutation by your will, not by us. We are just the creator of environment. It's a condition, the strength of your own understanding between the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of man to go through that transition. I can bring you to the airport. I cannot push you in the plane unless I handcuff you as a prisoner, and this is not our job. Every man has to take that flight of fancy on his own accord and own understanding of the totality of his own creation. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah wa barakatuh. We have said what we had to say. It's for man to understand. Does not matter, it takes him days, minutes, or centuries. It's the dilemma of the man himself and nobody else. And it's a trip that it has to be made by each man individually. There is no collective gathering and collective awareness. That game was the games they tried by collectiveness to make a slave of the man by the man who will lead that collection. Now you understand, it's in the capability of every soul to reach the point of understanding of the creation. And it's for man to decide which school, which mode of transportation, and which dimension of the emotion and the strength that man uses, and nothing else. We are not here to slave man with another. We are here to free man from all others. And this is your responsibility to understand the position and strength of your soul of physicality and how you can transmute between one and the other. Up to now, you called it the dream. Now that dream has become reality. And it's only you who can ignore it and nobody else, because nobody had the dream you had. And nobody has the dream which you have, except you. We go for a break, we come back, and we go through the usual method of answering any questions. Rick, if you want to take a break, the usual, the same things, but he has a lot of knowledge, the same system, but he has so much meaning that we see. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. This is the 502nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 7th, 2023. We'll take a few minutes break, as Mr. Keshe said, and then be back shortly. And you're welcome to bring your questions. If you're attendees, you can put your virtual hand up and we'll be able to open your microphone. Okay, back in a few minutes.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022. and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation, and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo, and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Okay, here we are back at the 502nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop. And as it is the second half, and the usual tradition here in these workshops is to have questions from people answered by Mr. Keshe. So again, as I mentioned before, the attendees can raise their virtual hands and then we can allow the microphone to open. And others in our live stream or YouTube channel can put your question in the chat and we'll see if we can get it answered. Okay, Mr. Keshe, are you there and ready to go?
Yes. If there's any questions.
Actually, no, there isn't. This is the first time in 500 workshops that there's no Q&A. There's none in the YouTube and none in the live stream.
That's fantastic. So we say goodbye. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed the teaching. And join us next week.
We have a hand up.
Please, just something to just to mention. Those of you who take part in the session tomorrow, please make sure you do your what we call test before, and you can test after the session. And we would like to put a questionnaire to you during the end part of the session, and then it'll be the same next Friday. And those of you who registered for the what we call the sign of your soul, Monday the 11th and the 18th, you've received emails. Please respond to it. Most of you have, I think, about 3 or 4 people, I was told, have not responded. If you can go to your junk, if you haven't received any mail, maybe it has gone to your junk mail, and respond to the time you want to be during the session for what we call fingerprint of your soul. So tomorrow we got the numbers which we wanted is to what we call test the most important part of the technologies application, and then the same next week. And it's a very interactive. Within the first 1 hour, 1.5 hours, we'll see the condition and the results. And then we ask you to retest yourself and then come back in and fill in the questionnaire. And this is important for us that we see the change, and then we'll tell you later on what does this mean and how you have brought a massive next step towards the space development, space technology, and many, many other applications. So if you have a question, you have a hand raised, let's answer it, and then we close it. That's the only question today.
The only question today? Okay. Is that what you said?
That's the only one with the hand, with the man's hands up. You have no others.
There's a Q&A, a longer question in the Q&A now from Hong Yui. But our Thomas is.
There is something I have to mention. There's something. We have a very critical condition in part of the translation and the operation of the Keshe Foundation China. Wang Lin is not available for the next 2 to 3 months. And we're trying to find a replacement and a position to cover all the situations which has risen in China. The translation and the operational management of the Keshe Foundation China. In the next week or so, we'll address that directly, and we bring a new translator to translate all the teachings and center point of the communication between the Keshe Foundation China and the rest of the Keshe Foundation outside. No difficulties. It's just that we have to restructure, as everything was structured around Bang Lin, and now she's away for about 2 or 3 months. We have to restructure it that it can be brought back, that there is no gap in the knowledge and other parts of the Keshe Foundation work in China. This does not affect our work with the Chinese government at all. It's just something personal, and then it will be readdressed, and then it will be brought back to normal, hopefully after next couple of weeks. Okay, let's hear.
Okay, go ahead, our Thomas here. say who you are and where you're from.
Good morning, Mr. Keshe. I'm Thomas from Switzerland. Good morning. I have a little question regarding the 11th of November. Maybe I'm a little early, but will there be a connection over Zoom?
No, nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
We will not allow, we've done this before, we'll explain this again. We will not allow any cameras, any telephones, any recording of the sessions.
Yeah, I understand.
When you attend a meeting, please make sure we'll give you, we've done that in what you call Belgium before. We'll make sure that there is no electronic operation in the room. You'll not be allowed to take any pictures, any recording. You'll be physically body checked with everything possible. We'll cover every aspect. But the reason is not that we're trying to put things aside. It's just that the fields and the condition created in the room can affect everything else.
I understand. Thank you very much. And I'm sure you will inform us or give us some hints or show something after.
No, it'll be done by the press. We'll not show anything. Keshe, the way we've done the same in Manchester. Nothing will be shown. We are not here to go in that extent. There is the reason we're doing it, and the London condition is that there are different conditions in London than we ever been positioned in.
I see. So maybe we will be informed through the presence of the press afterwards. Anyway.
Or people. Depends how it gets reported, but even the press, we try to bring a very tight control on it. There is a huge reason for this, and as I said, there is no difference between the cameraman of the press and the individuals. This is a very, we don't want to go into the detail, but we create a condition that we don't see fit for electronics.
Okay.
Even us have a problem in trying to see how we present things will not affect our own system. It's a beautiful presentation and a breakthrough in science. And it'll be shown in a very, very effective way. We'll follow the same procedure we've done before. If you attended the conference in city of Ghent on the 3rd of December 2011, they gave you a plastic bag and everything goes in it, and your plastic bag gets numbered and kept out of the room. And if you attended the Bulgarian conference, we thoroughly body search everything you carry. And we are even planning to bring in a special system that, like airports, shows what your clothing is made of or whatever it is. We are very, very thorough with this. Don't forget, we're inviting ambassadors. We cannot take any risks. Do not bring with you, or you bring your mobile phone or whatever, it will be taken off you in a sealed bag, registered. At the end of the session, you take it back as normal with everything else. Very, very tight. We bring this to very, very tight security. We cannot allow, we have to create a condition of safety for what we call number of ambassadors who should attend. This is one of the reasons when we did the first ambassadorial meeting in Nino, we did not allow any knowledge seekers because we had to create that condition of safety for the ambassadors. Now there is many people And we have to control it in a very massive, we have to give undertakings that the dignitaries are safe.
I see. Thank you very much for your explanation.
You're quite welcome. The fee for Saturday evening will rise to €5,000 in the next few days. All knowledge seekers who registered before still stands for that weekend for 1,500. But the fee for that weekend will rise to €5,000 because it goes to the governmental and to what we call institutes, and they come as part of the understanding of the research. We are not looking for numbers, we are looking for quality and what we call people of the knowledge will be there, and that's what we are looking for. So the 1,500 for that weekend within the next few days will rise to 5,000, which brings in what we call the organizations we are looking for. They come in to see the change. We don't just bring people in to be there. Those of you who registered for the what we call the weekend, the week before, you have automatic entrance into the weekend session and the meeting with our masters. We start the work from next week. The whole what we call cycle. We already have found the venue where we want to hold it. It's in central London. Capacity is about 500 people, and people will create all the security structure we need for the meeting, to give confidence to the embassies for their ambassadors. Any other question?
Okay, we have a number of questions in the Q&A here now. Let's begin with...
I think they were asleep.
I'm just going to mute you, Thomas. Thank you. Okay, from Hong Yui. Hello, Mr. Keshe. You said there, quote, there is no reincarnation many times before. I think what you mean is all my cells structure, all souls of cells and soul of the physicality will not be completely copied and regenerated in my next life. In addition, according to Buddhist scriptures, after leaving the body, the soul of the man or an animal will enter the fertilized egg of a person or animal under the action of karma. There is a lot of interaction with the soul of parents in previous lives, no matter which side is helped or hurt. And then this soul and the fertilized egg will be closely combined to start a new life. In addition, I think all individual souls were directly created by the Creator, separating a small part of its own energy at the beginning, and a huge number of individual souls were created at that time, allowing them to enter the material world or physical world, which created at the same time to experience and continuously sending the information they experienced back to the Creator to confirm their existence. I would like to hear your views on the above 3 points, or could you talk directly about the process of creating individual soul and its purpose, and where it goes after leaving the body, and how it enters the fertilized egg or has a new physicality to start a new life? Thank you very much.
First of all, we got to look at it two ways. One is the transmutation. In the transmutation, you never die, in a way, because you change from the dimension of the soul of physicality to be, or the dimension of the soul to be in charge of. So that's the way explained in Buddhism does not exist, or what you explained just now. We do not die and fertilize another egg. If you extend the knowledge of fertilizing another egg, When your soul taking a new position in a new dimension after your the physical death of today, as you call it, now it has a new environment, and in interaction with a new environment, or what you call it, the egg, it starts a new cycle. What we said, the creation of another star, another galaxy, another system. So in a way, you don't enter into another egg. Your soul, in gaining its strength, and through its strength of what we call gravitational and magnetical, finds its position in the universe. And that, if you want to call it position, becomes the egg, becomes where now, possessing both gravity and magnetical field, start the cycle of gathering energy from this environment, the womb of the universe, and then starts the process of the cycle of life. What could be? So, in a way, maybe part of your belief in Buddhism now can be explained in more detailed scientific way by the understanding more about the creation. And in that process of creating new condition, new environment, you give new life, you create condition for new existence as the fields by interaction, by natural process, create friction, create smaller plasmas, and the interaction of the plasmas with the plasma of environment leads to creation of life. Two dynamic fields in interacting create a condition, common denominator, which becomes the seed of the next collective connection between the two, as happens with the egg and the sperm in the womb of the mother. The only difference is that instead of the womb of the mother, we have the womb of the universe. Collective energy in the womb of the mother to give additional energy to the what we call new dimension of the fields, which becomes later on the soul of the man. Then it brings us to position of what we call the life in the universe. It's just change of name and the dimension and the field, the strength and the freedom of the plasma. In the physical dimension, we always, to begin with, start with the soul of the physicality, which is the physical dimension of the two sperm and the egg, leading to creation of the soul. Collective feel the strength of the totality. And at the same time, as different condition for transfer of energy, holding on to energy, conversion of the energy of the environment to the physical body leads to the creation of the man. If you are born on another condition, dimension, where there is no food, but you still exist, you don't need the dimension of the digestion system. So your body doesn't create it. Your soul of physicality in that dimension is according to the physical need, conformation of existence of the man in that time and place and position. The soul of physicality is not just energy pack, it's carrier of information in its interaction with its environment. It's no use creating another man on the moon when there is no food, there is no air, and there is no water to eat, drink, or breathe. So the soul of physicality creates condition of the physical life in interaction with the soul for confirmation of existence in that point, place, and position. You have a life without the lung because there is no air to breathe. You have a life without the digestion system because there is no food to eat. And what's the use of kidney when you have no water? Now you understand the common denominator, the emotion of the existence in interaction of the field of the soul of the man and the soul of physicality of man. You call it the soul and the spirit. So now, which way, which story through Torah, Bible, or Quran, or the word of Buddha you want to accept? All is the same knowledge. Is how they interpret, how they put it that the knowledge of the man understands more. In Buddhism, there's more interaction with the emotion. In Islam is more interaction with the physicality. You kill, you punished, you cut a hand, and everything else. Because people of the time of Buddha were more spiritual, understood more about the soul. Arab guy understood about the hand and the finger and where to put it. So they deprived of him to punish him, to teach him. Where in Buddhism, you're enlightened to understand more. But it's the same story. The same slavery of one into the other, where now is the freedom of both, with the new knowledge and understanding of both. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Going on to the next question from Cristiano. It says in the 493rd Knowledge Seekers Workshop, a knowledge seeker asks about the sacrum, and then Rick goes on Wikipedia to look up what the sacrum is. Then an image of the pelvis caught my eye, which had the appearance of a dynamic core with the sacrum positioned in the center. Then you replied that it was too early to teach about this. This reminded me of two teachings. In it, you say that when we breathe in, part of the fields are to feed the soul, and through the lymph, the soul spreads the fields throughout the body. It also reminds me of the gas reactors where you introduce gases into the inner core to expand the fields. So would the basin and the skull of the man be the two reactors, just like the sun and the earth? Is the interaction between the two through the blood flow, like the heartbeat of physicality, and through the lymph, like the heartbeat of the soul? Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe, for today's knowledge, which brings more understanding and clarity.
You can look at any physical part of the man and you come to the same conclusion. Move from the bottom to the top to the brain. It's the same structure. You have the left brain and right brain. There is no physical bone condition of the shape, but it's a physical condition of the soft tissue. Bring the same knowledge into the two kidneys. Bring the same picture into the heart of the man. Bring the same picture into the lung of the man. You always need, for life, a slightly two different field strength. That the interaction in trying to bring a balance between the two, it creates continuity. Man looks at the lung as two pair of things, but the two lungs are not the same. A slightly different structure, a slightly different composition. One works to get the other one going and vice versa. The same is the brain. The two halves of the brain are not the same. In having a slightly different structure, they have different what we call part of the spirit, part of the soul of physicality, strength, which creates that heartbeat. The trying to balance, it creates intellect and emotion. The same is with the hip. The same is with your toes. Left toe, right toe. The same is with your thumb. The same is with your ear. There is a reason we have two of everything in the present physical body of the man on this. And if you go back to the very best teachings, we always spoke about the condition and the shapes which the copper creates in this condition. Go back to the early teaching. This is the characteristics, physical interaction of existence of copper in the dimension of physicality of the man on this earth, which is in your muscles. Go back, long back into the teaching. Splitting and then confirmation of the balance between the two is one of the characteristics of the copper, which is a cornerstone of life on this planet. Because of its conductivity and in a position of the dimension of the vacuum condition of the physical body of the man as a gas, it creates this, what we call twin structure. Any other question?
A question in YouTube from Dubo Dbiz, DBO DBZ. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Hello, Rick. I would like to ask one question. Is the skin of organs and bones or muscles a nano coating in our body? What is the function of the sac covering of these organs? Or does it provide information about the appearance and movement of a given body part?
In a way, the skin of every organ, even the skin of the man, is to contain its properties and feel the strength, and nothing else. And in that condition, it creates a condition of holding the part and a collective structure feels the strength of the soul of physicality. Whatever is in that sac, with a kidney, be a heart, be a bone, has a rhythm, has a field strength of itself that it identifies as that. So that creates part of the spirit in passing, transferring that energy through the river of blood. It's very much like you take a water from a river and you say there are these contaminations and these materials in this river, and it's because a factory up the road has put some poison in, a factory up the road has put some more rubbish in. That factory is called the kidney, the other factory is called the heart, and collectively they put the energies in this river of life we call blood, or we call its interaction the spirit of the man. So, and again, the skin itself is another plasmatic magnetic field containment, which has the strength enough to contain the field, the strength of the cells of that organ inside, that it doesn't interfere with outside or interferes the way the totality of the structure of physical life has decided for them to do. It's very much, if you go back to the teaching, a part of the medical teaching, we always, in the what we call dimension of the digestion system, we always say, oh, we eat the food and it goes in the stomach, and the acidity of the stomach digests the food, and then it goes to the long intestine, and then it comes out of the big intestine and we absorb the food. And then I ask one question: you put a banana, where does it cross? Where does the banana go? And then now we find out there's hardly anything to do with the acidity of the stomach that the food converts. The conversion of the energy comes from the salinity of the stomach when it converts into the gas. The acidity which you created is part of nanostructure production. Now you're familiar with. So once you nano-coated the material you put in the stomach, in a way, the salinity opens it up into a gas and now is available as an energy to your body. And this is what the world of science has not understood. This is why we are doing this test tomorrow. To find out how the conversion of the matter into nano in the stomach of the man leads to separation, creation of nanomaterials, which then the salinity in the stomach converts it into a gas and travels the span of the, what we call the intestine. And then, oh, now they say there is a gate here, it opens up, this goes. What a nonsense. The layers of your stomach is another GANs transmutation between the lymph in the body of the man and the food inside. And that transformation allows the energy of the food you ate crosses to your lymph. And then again from the lymph into different organs according to the structure. And the interesting part is when the lymph receives the energy of whatever from the ganses of the material going through intestine, now it feeds back the lining of intestine to support the next cycle. So the world of science, of all the problem we have created, is the creation of our own lack of understanding of the world of creation. We have created a mayhem of the nonsense, and now we believe in it because somebody has written it in a book. Now we have to destroy that knowledge, which is half imaginary, and it doesn't exist, and we're giving it pictures, shapes, and everything else. So where does it come from? How do we confirm? How we change the matter into energy? Now we understand for the first time. And then the rest is understood. How a banana becomes vitamin blah, blah, blah in your lymph and then converts again back into transmutation to blood, blah, 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 it becomes blood. If you look at it, that banana came as a matter when your stomach went through a transmutation, became energy, crossed the wall of the intestine, now appears as a blood cell in your body, now appears as a bone. It's gone through the full transmutation from food to energy, energy back into a mass, you call it a bone. Nobody came and planted a bone in your structure. You went through a transmutation, and then through it, came through a transportation, and you move it, you call it the body of the man. We entered the world of creation through men of nonsense. People like Einstein, who have created so much problem, and others who created a more problem, trying to confirm their existence, with, in a way, bringing more and more fancy thinking into the dimension of reality of creation. Yesterday I received a message, I think from Azar or somewhere, that an 11-year-old girl in London sat for a test, IQ test, and in Oxford University, and she has come up with a 162. Up to now, the highest man we had was one Einstein and one cheated guy who was given all the things, called Stephen Hawking. Now, this girl at the age of 11 has come up with 2 points higher than Einstein. And now, what is the IQ of our souls when we put them to these tests? 1,000, 10,000? And if you look, both what are called fabricated knowledge providers, Einstein and what are called Stephen Hawking, both don't even exist. Their knowledge in the world of reality of the creation. Two fake people put up by two fake structure and made to be the most clever, where an 11-year-old can beat both of them. And now the new generation of man born out of the soul of children of Mitra will have 10,000, 20,000 IQs. And then what we see? We accepted too many fallacies for the men of no knowledge, who made themselves to look to be knowledgeable. The way the Americans are, in a way, running away from the German guy who became the father of the space of NASA. very soon, man of knowledge will raise the name of Einstein and Stephen Hawking from every page of Science of Man. Because our children cannot be held and covered with the fabrication of lies. Because now we understand, we can analyze. We see a new knowledge through energy, not to the physicality that any man could imagine, whatever fancy to return. I wrote to the Chinese authorities in the presentation of upcoming time, we would like to show how we can eradicate Parkinson in a Macau presentation of the Keshe Foundation in minutes, to show the change in the knowledge, to show the difference in the new understanding. Any other question?
Okay, in our Q&A here, Irmgard's having difficulty understanding the blood test.
You don't have a blood test, you can do a urine test. You go to any doctor, to any chemist and say, I want to test my pH. And they give you a film and you test it. It's as easy as ABC.
But the blood test is special. You'd either have to have a blood sample
that's
a
very
special
complicated
test.
one if you want to do it. You do this
Right.
with a film, you go to a chemist and they just give you a film. And usually you pass water on it and it shows. It's that kind of thing. Or some facilities show with electronically with their saliva.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, so Gerhard has a question. Says, tomorrow we need to measure the pH. This is clear. What do we need to measure next Friday?
Insulin.
So the blood sugar, or
yeah. It's very important.
Okay.
This will give us a dimension of transmutation of the soul. Then those of you participate in the sessions tomorrow and next week, then I'll explain to you. This goes especially, many of the knowledge seekers who came to Manchester will understand how effective this will be, to know how to transmute from one to another. Salinity gives you condition of the manifestation, holding on to physicality. The what you call sugar or whatever will give us a dimension of transmutation. It's energy given. Sugar, like you, this is the way you understand it in the world of matter state. But we use this knowledge for another dimension to start teaching the knowledge seekers to understand when their body is ready for transmutation. You know, we have, they say, women with the temperature and blah, blah, know when they have an egg ready to be released. That's the cycle of life. Now, knowledge seekers, in setting up conditions and tests like this, you become part of the structure to understand for yourself how you can bring a position from the dimension of physicality to the dimension of transmutation. That's a reason for the test in next 2 sessions. If you put it that way, like, oh, we want to know, Mr. Keshe said, no, you have to understand, you have to realize. We'll bring this back into the next positions through the same process. We show you how to feed yourself. Those of you who participate in the test from now on, we put up, you are in a way collaborating for us to bring knowledge forward, But in a way, it's for yourself to find out the way of feeding yourself without touching the nature, how to absorb fields. Just what I said a few minutes ago. What happened in your stomach? How the fallacies of the knowledge has thrown us away from how we actually digest food and what the digestion system is. If you can create that condition which the salinity creates a condition of the gas in your body, inside your body, without eating, you absorb energy from unicos. This is what it does in your intestine. Your intestine is not a place for energy to cross your wall of the intestine to feed the lymph. By the law of physics, by the law of plasma, you create that seed inside the stomach, and the cosmos has a bigger dimension field strength that by trying to feed, trying to connect with that seed in your stomach, creates energy crossing your body. This is what we do. We put a double loaded patch on the back and a single patch in the front. Why do we do this? Your spinal cord is a transmitter of that energy which comes through your body. If I explain how in depth we have got you to do things without you knowing, you'll understand how you've been educated to the knowledge of the universe, but you don't understand. You're still looking for that. As I said in the last week, with one of our knowledge seekers who's heavily involved in magravs, you're always looking for a few volts, but you do not see the mega energy which is available through the whole system. If you understood why we encouraged, and some of the knowledge seekers went through production of the gas water and they drank the gas water and say they don't need anything. Why? Because instead of eating the food, converting it into a nano, converting it into gas in the stomach, and then putting it into intestine, this energy water you drink becomes that seed that absorbs energy from the unicos, the 80% you need. How hard is this to understand? Why does it look like a magic? Because you didn't understand the knowledge. You were too busy, not kidding, not saying, but you never understood the structure of the science behind it. I always said, you take from this technology according to your intelligence. Drinking the water, the gas water, is not that it gives you energy. No, no way. It puts the seed of the energy in your intestine, in your body, in your stomach, that allows being weaker to absorb energy from the universe. And that's how you're fed and say, oh, I drink a gas water and I don't need food. What a nonsense. You eat more than before because this time you don't even spend energy to break it up into nano. You directly receive energy fields from the universe, what your body needs to carry. Now you understand how you're feeding yourself with gas waters. You're sowing the seed of energy in your body, and the cosmos feeds you. This is where the 80% that is the essence of your life comes from. Now, oh, I took gas water, I didn't eat for 10 days. I'm eating the gas water, I'm drinking this. Excuse me, do you understand the bulk of plasma? You created that weak plasma, and the universe has to feed you. It become your father, it's become your lamb, it's become your banana. By balancing the fields in the stomach, the body says, what energy I need to get from the universe? And it feeds you. This is what, as knowledge seekers, you have not understood. And say, oh, the guys in China didn't eat for 7 months or 2 years, or the man on the space. We just place the seed of, we don't even need, this is the knowledge you'll gain in London. We don't even need to feed you the gas water. We sow the seed of the energy of universe in your body in that conference. You'll be fed by the universe. I wonder how many of you who truly connect will walk out of the London conference and you'll feed yourself for the rest of your lives. Because we have set the seed. It's you who have to control it through your soul. And then you understand. I told you, in the London conference, we show such a technology that baffles the world of science of today. Many libraries burn their books of the nonsense they have stored to teach the man the lies of creation. Many of you who come to London conference, your life will change, will be touched. And those who attend the week before, you're prepared for that change. Now you understand. Why do we need to eat? What's all this knowledge? We're coming to a point of the delivery to make man ready to understand in his physical body, does not need to eat. That then he goes to space, he's adopted, he understands it. He shall not kill another entity in the universe. London Conference is the biggest show on this planet to bring the biggest change in the race of the man. One day you will understand. Those of you who participate in it say, I was there when the history of man changes. No magic.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. I lost your audio there. Still not hearing you.
Hello, can you hear me, Rick?
I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah, just give me a couple of minutes. I received a call. I have to accept. It's important.
Okay. Well, bear with us for a couple of minutes here while Mr. Keshe addresses his call. John, I'm about to ask your Q&A question of how will the press work? The old-fashioned way? Do you mean the media type press or some other kind of press? Maybe you could write in the Q&A or put your hand up if you want to speak to that. Okay, John says, yes, how it was done 100 years ago. Okay, let's see if we can advance that question.
Hi, Rick. I'm back. Sorry about that. This is
Hi.
a very important call for the foundation. I had to accept it. This is the reason we came to Netherlands, for this reason. It had to be completed. It's important for the future of the foundation worldwide. We are a Dutch structure, and we have to work within the structure of the Dutch government, and these things need to be sorted. Sooner or later, you as knowledge seekers, when I pass away, become responsible to oversee these functions, interaction between the foundation and the government. And I do most of these things as I've done from the beginning. But as I said to knowledge seekers, those of you who we are preparing to take over the function of running the foundation have to interface with governments, interface with what we call legal side of everything in every country according to their law. And so this is the reason we came to Holland. And we are here for past 3-4 days with the head of the Keshe Foundation management team, standing by to complete part of the process of the Keshe Foundation with the Dutch authorities. And it has to be done. It has to be completed. And we had the same with Austrian, with the Chinese, with the Americans, and the rest of the world we operate. Keshe Foundation operates in 51 nations through its organization and companies. And these are the what we call management structure, which I have run more or less for past 20-25 years. And now gradually, as I prepare to leave the physicality, it's your responsibility. You have to live. You have to learn how to interact with governments, how to talk them, and how to, what I call, teach them, and how to prepare them for the next step. And the biggest problem for knowledge seekers is once you become in charge of running, your headaches just starts. I have just cut the grass off the ground. Now you have to dig a hole with the foundation in and build the building of knowledge on this planet. I've done the easy part. The hardest part is left with you because that's your planet. You have to deal with it. And we try to make it as smooth as possible. And part of these calls and these things and these meetings is bringing nations, governments, authorities in line to work with each other. This meeting, you just heard a few seconds of calls being held back. It's taken 8 months of the Keshe Foundation to change everything from Central European authorities to national and international and a governmental level to accept the Keshe Foundation in a different way. And now we are here to complete it with the Dutch authorities. It will bring a big change. In the next few weeks, you'll understand the change. Even the silence or you're waiting will bring to the foundation in the coming days and months. The next question.
Okay, we had a question from John Wells. How will the press work? The old-fashioned way?
Show them a new way. I was walking on the streets of Manchester last week, and I was with knowledge seekers, and we passed through the west back end of Manchester Centre. It used to be called the Fleet Street of North. It's called Ancourt Road, and all the, if you remember the old presses, the ink presses, where you run, create the newspapers, daily newspapers, were on this road. And now, with the new computerized systems, we don't have these old ink belts and the rest of it, because we used to stand when I went to Manchester nearly 50 years ago, 40 odd years ago, these are still running. And now I passed, all these old buildings have been demolished and the most modern city in the center has been built. And I was saying, we used to watch newspapers to be printed here. And yes, was that. What came out on the morning on the headline of news was the news, the most important news. Doesn't matter who detected it, what it was lied to, whatever it was important, that was it. Now the press comes a different way, awareness of the soul. Would we see what I call internet communication, or would we go through the new system of the wireless plasma communication, which Keshe Foundation has brought into operation. The first of these systems in a wireless, what we call plasma condition, was taken away by the knowledge seekers in the conference last week. And the rest is getting sent out in the coming weeks, those of you who purchased it. And then you'll find out, I heard this, I know this knowledge. Then you start realizing, I'm getting a knowledge through the new way. I'm getting informed of the truth the new way. It's not anymore coincident, oh, I thought of this. How did you think about it? Where the knowledge came on? It goes back to, how did I use the new plasma communication system packs? And then there are a lot of things we teach you in the future, how to be connected. Those of you who had a headphone sets you took and you use, you connect to the conference directly because we'll set a system inside. The knowledge, the information will come as knowledge, as emotion, as pictures, whatever you want to do it. You call it the dream, it's the reality of connection through the new technology. These are the things we start teaching you, you start understanding it. And then you have a favorite, this system or that system. It was very interesting. Our knowledge seekers know what I'm talking about if you were in the meeting last week. I connect with this system more because each system was numbered. So I want to take system 1 or 3 or 5 because I have a connection to it. You never understood. It's you who have connected to the new line of communication. It's like, I like Apple, I like Samsung. Now is how the structure of system has matched my field strength that I can connect to the rest of the universe. And these are the new ways. And then it's not a dream anymore. It's your new press. It's new understanding and new knowledge. And it's not coincidental anymore because now you connect to all the dimensions of an animal. What you want to know, the way you want to know. I want to speak Chinese with the emotion of it, not the word of it. And then I understand why they said what the joke meant, because I carry the essence of the knowledge of the life in the language. Then it becomes sweet to become man of the universe because you understand everyone and not just the words. Any other question?
I think you've kind of answered the question from the educational person in the Q&A who says Dean made an announcement in the One Nation, One Planet, One Race meeting on Tuesday concerning the cosmic ray communication bundle. Can you expand on this, Mr. Keshe?
I don't know what he said. How can I expand on it? I wasn't there.
He started expanding, but he was asked not to reveal any more than what he already had.
He doesn't have a system. It's his understanding of. No one has a communication bundle. The communication bundles are getting dispatched for those who bought it this week. The manufacturing has started this week. So nobody has. Except me. No one in our production team has ever put a communication bundle on their head. And even me, I don't like to be in it because it brings a lot of things in. Even the systems we gave, our knowledge seekers took last week is not a communication bundle, but uses the plasmatic field line of communications. Two different things. Those systems are totally for different purpose. We put 5 units out to 5 of the participants. They took it with them last week. And there is a reason for it. Don't touch it. Don't do anything with it. Keep it the way it is. And it creates the condition we want. Each one has gone to a different part of the world. And will bring that condition for us, an extension of the souls and interaction. Whatever Dean has said as a member of the Universal Council is to their understanding and interaction with the source, but you cannot reveal something you haven't had. There is not a single communication bundle up to this minute has left Keshe Foundation manufacturing, even though they are produced. That's so complicated in essence that take us, all our team, 1 unit a day to produce, sometimes 2 days to produce 1 unit. And they're not easy. And when you receive it, don't touch it, just use it the way it is. The new communication bundles, which you receive in the next few days and weeks as they go through the production, has no cables, has nothing, it's changed. Has no wires to connect anywhere, has nothing. Headphone sits on the unit. And let me go somewhere. If I can show you, it is actually a production line. There is 1 unit was placed last or this week at the Linz Center. It's a dummy, it's totally empty, but it shows the new communication. The new communication bundles is not a fully completed because there's so much rapid development coming in. In the next few months, a new edition will come in, but I show you, this is what a new communication bundle. Nobody has seen this up to today in public, has not been delivered. I think we showed it to the knowledge seekers in what do you call it? In Manchester conference. And I'm going to see if I can share it. Share. Okay. This is what you will receive. It's the first time we show it in public. If you remember, the original units we showed had wires and everything else. It's all gone. Again, it's advancement in technology. And even this is like Apple 1 will have Apple 10 and 15 and 20, and you can imagine what will come. Very soon, the way we see it, this white unit, as we develop, will go into the headset. So one headset will be a complete unit with everything. And what you see there, you don't dream anymore because you're a creator of reality in the dimension of fields. We have to learn that we live 2-dimensional life. We call it the dream. No, that dream is not a dream. It's a reality we ignored. We call it a dream because we couldn't handle it. Now we have to handle it. And I foresee maybe in 3 years, 5 years, that we reduce even those headphones to single units embedded within the structure of the physical life of the man in the communication with the solar physicality. In a way, in the bloodstream. Quite possible. That allows instantaneous conversion in transmutation. But this is in time ahead. So what what do you call it? Dean has brought is part of his own intuition and part of being maybe a member of Universal Council. And in the past few days, we have delivered such a dummy unit. There's nothing in it, just shows. It's in, what do you call it? In the exhibition center, which is still running till we pack it up in the next few days and weeks. The links we have given notice to are what we call the owners of the property that will be leaving by the end of October. So till we get to that point, it's just anybody goes into exhibition, you can see things. There's nothing that we cannot reveal. There's nothing there that has been revealed to anyone to be revealed. And people who attended the Manchester conference, they had a feel of this, how this thing will look and be, but the units which were in, what do you call it, in Manchester are again totally different and for different applications.
Okay, thank you. I had a question in live stream from Wolfgang. Can you tell a bit more about the new possibilities and how advanced the possibilities are, which are developed in the background? Thanks.
We work with different structures of research. We have frontal research, and at the same time I work with a lot of people individually or a group of 1 and 2 in the background. So if you take overall structure of the research and what is getting developed, we are very, very advanced. Some of it is frightening how advanced we are. Even our own knowledge seekers don't understand what they are doing, but they understand part of it and they follow it because they see other effects. But the actual system is set up for a totally different outcome. And as we come to it, we bring your attention to it. And that's the only way, as knowledge seekers have seen this work or whatever, they can connect. Instead of targeting something which I want to achieve, I bring the environment of understanding and then show the same system for different targets applications. We are extremely advanced. We can complete transmutation even now. We can complete transportation London to New York in minutes today. But first of all, our people are not understood. The Iranian team within the structure of Iranian flight system are years ahead. Even them, with being years ahead, they are still years behind what is actually taking place. Because there's a very big problem, or very, very big difference. In Keshe Foundation, I had everything in research. More or less, our team had their own bits into it. But the direction we take is, we decide today we've gone far enough, I teach the next step. I don't wait for the budget, somebody decides. I see our knowledge seekers, our team have understood most of the grasp, some of it, or understand. We jump 10 years. Forget about it. You understood these things, let's do this. When you come to the government structure, it's different. You want to change one screw, one panel, it has to go through acceptance, authorization, money is spent, blah, blah. The only country which is fastest speeding these things is the Iranian Sabah, an Iranian defense technology in nuclear industry. Decision made by head of divisions, done. This is what we understood with the Keshe teaching today. We go. Iranians have put a team to understand my mentality of thinking, not with what I say. And they're very good at it. This is why we even brought the Chinese to work with the Iranians. With the Iranians, Ahmadinejad had a very Khamenei had a very, very clear understanding of the teaching. This guy speaks, we look at the word. We have to understand the essence that we can be with him. And that team, you listen to the teaching today. I work with the Iranian Keshe Foundation team, but there is a team behind which has worked with my work for past 14 years. They sit to understand the essence of the knowledge, not the word of the knowledge. And they work at it. Because they have seen the essence of it. So how it will take shape is how you understand it and how you interpret it and how much technology is behind the scene. Our technology, our team have everything to complete the transmutation today. Within the capability of the Keshe Foundation, we have built the system. Actually, some of you have already used it without you knowing to convert energy into matter. But our knowledge seekers don't still understand it, so I have to take time. We built it last year. I built it 15 years ago. I said to the knowledge seekers before, those who came and went to the moon and they brought a handful of dust or brought a stone with them, I said, you need a system to convert this dream to reality that becomes a material. We already built that system. What you touch as a stone on the moon, when I put your hands inside the system, become that stone. So you didn't dream, you actually been on the moon. We done the reverse of this with Ali in Canada some years ago when the hand disappeared in the system. So it's not something we dream. It's our knowledge seekers have to understand the society when it's shown us, we understand how can you bring a stone in your imagination, as you call it, you put it in the environment, it becomes that stone, and the scientists from Earth put the stone and say the stone is from Mars. It's come from Moon. We showed this to the Chinese military in 1 week of tests in China in past 5 weeks. So we're not talking about something that's going to happen. And they tested it and they confirmed it. So the knowledge is there. The man is not ready. I brought the car, but nobody knows how to drive a car. So the car is parked. And the key is in my pocket. Show me a driving license I can ride. The knowledge of the universe, I give the key to it. Very complete. The knowledge, what sits in 2 or 3 of laboratories of the Keshe Foundation, and the people are taught individually to, is immense. If the knowledge seekers who are taught are Iranian scientists in Iran defense technology, in the space development, release the knowledge they understood, America become a slave to Africans in the lack of knowledge. This is how advanced we are. But you're not ready. Then I become a magician and I promise I'll never do magic. I'll make you to understand the science of it. Any other question?
Okay, from Ping Peter in YouTube, is the all-in-one system you mentioned last week, in fact, a replication of the environment of Earth, where it was created perfectly, allowing people to tap into it, like the process of transmutation.
In a way, yes. Would you like to change your screen, please? In a way, yes. In a way, no. But in a way, if you understand, your soul does the job. We just train you how to use your soul. You know, you can drive a car from the day you're born. If you can understand what the clutch, what the brake, and what the accelerator, and what the gearbox is, and what you can mix it and get what you want out of it. You don't need to wait till age of 18. You can drive while you're in the womb of the mother. It's the same situation. We all know, but we need to be taught, and we have to be at the age of maturity to understand you can't use a brake, the car, to kill someone with the speed or run yourself into a wall. It's just time of the maturity man needs to understand the knowledge. Otherwise, the knowledge is there. None of the things we thought is magic or something made up. We just open your eyes to the knowledge which exists, but you've been ignorant to it or you've been put the wrong way. That's all. Instead of going and call it, you know, when you drive a car, they put an L plate on your car, you're a learner. We change that learner to knowledge seeker. You're in that stage, learning about the knowledge. You're L drivers of the knowledge of the creation. Any other question?
We will have to have a new K rating. Knowledge seeker, look out.
Dangerous. You know what? The Indians have a beautiful word. In order, in Pashto, they call, in order, they say, not in order, in Hindi, they call it Neem Hakim Khatar Jan. It means half a doctor is dangerous for life because he doesn't know the whole thing. He can make a mistake in his medicine because it's just, I learned half of the knowledge. And it's the same with the man.
Yes, indeed. My first experience of the freedom of having a bicycle was running directly into a telephone pole.
Not knowing
So
the pole
was
already there.
Yeah, it was there, but it just seemed to magnetically attract the bicycle. So
I went to this, I spent a week in Manchester, 10 days in Manchester. And as I've been away for nearly 20 years from Manchester, I had to go through this city, and it brought back so many memories. And I passed the place going out of Manchester, just a couple of kilometers away from Manchester United football ground. I was going to my, what they call it, place up what I call the beautiful game. And there's a plant wall in the middle of dual carriageway. They put a wall with the plants on top of it and everything else. And I just bought a new car, a Volkswagen, and 4 o'clock in the morning, I stood on the street watching the car being on top of the plant pot. The police came and says, how did you get on top of that plant pot nearly 1.5 meters from the ground? And you're standing here with no scratches on your body. I said, I don't know. I just found myself on the street. And they said, you have to go to the hospital because it cannot be like this. You have nothing. They took me to a hospital. I said, no, there's nothing. And the police later on question says, the front of the car is gone. The engine sits in the driver's seat, more or less. But how did you get out of that car on the street with not a scratch? I said, I don't know. I just saw a car coming on the side. And next thing I know, I'm standing on the street. Brand new car, 250 miles on the dial, was sitting 1/3 of its length short on top of a plant pot. And I thought myself, ask questions. Did I learn how to drive? How did I end up on top of this pile? And it was amazing. You could talk about the bicycle and the lamppost. I don't know how the car ended up on top of a plant pot. It was attracted to it, or something happened. But according to the law of physics and law of cars, the car should have been halfway in my stomach, but I was on the ground, standing next to it without any scratch, watching it. 4 o'clock in the morning. Very interesting. Manchester has changed. If some of you know, I explained to the knowledge seekers, Manchester is known as a city of slaves. Is where man enslaved man in the same color. But when you stand in the city center, we call it mills. We have a canal street where the canal was built to move cotton. Manchester was the city of slave because we have water coming from the mountains of what we call Pennine and the other side. And this water is created the running water needed for the mills to run. And the slavery of a white man in the slave city of Manchester started with enslaving the black man in Africa, in George Island, where man, the slave man, in the color of the skin, took him to America to grow cotton. The same slave was used to bring the cotton to Liverpool, put on the canals, brought into Manchester, into different mills to convert the cotton to thread and clothing or fabric. And in Manchester, the children of the white man, and the white man was a slave to run these mills. And if you stand in the city of Manchester in the center and all the mills around it, you have a mill, depends how many people lived or worked in this mill. The owner of the mill built houses next to it. They call it 2 up, 2 down, 2 room downstairs and 2 room upstairs, 2 bedroom, and toilet was outside. And the man was given a job. Then his children, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, worked with the father in the mill. The slave literally paid enough to eat in those houses he gave him, because I gave you the accommodation, you just need enough to live. Man had no saving, no future, no holidays. In the slavery of the Bahamas, slaves fought to get 1 day off called John Canoe days. If you go to Bahamas, you know it on Christmas Day called John Canoe. John Canoe fought to get 1 day off a year, day of Christmas, that he go to church, free of the slavery. And in Manchester, they didn't get that. So the man worked as a father with children age of 5, 6, 7. When they could know what the finger is, they put into these mills. And when the father died, they put the children the same day with everything children on the street. They lost everything. And the next man moved in. The slavery of white men in Manchester is very deep, but British are too ashamed of to speak about the slavery of their own. And people died on these mills, just to have food to eat and a shelter for the children. They were enslaved. Children of theirs were enslaved. And Manchester is known as a slave city of the white man, where the slave was used from Africa to America. Slave brought the cotton, and the white man, the slave, made money for the white man. And there's a lot of pain in this city. You feel it. I lived there for nearly 30 years. And this week brought back understanding, being away, the totality of things I miss being too busy living in that city. And it's changed. It's become skyscrapers. It's getting the features of the skyline of New York and the big cities just building on top of each other to show man has become more arrogant and can go higher. But it's very interesting how we change our understanding and we try to cover that it doesn't show how bad it is. But if you pay a visit to Manchester or northwest of England, Manchester, Bolton, that area is the biggest slave city of the white man, without ever man knowing that they created these things. We just call it the cotton or wool from England. We never understood this is done with the white slave children, age of 5, 6, 14. We used to work in these mills. We used to store in these mills, and I always asked the ones, can we see the certificate? I want to know before we buy, what's the history behind this building? When was it built? How it was built? In Manchester, a good example of how the white man is good to cover his own slavery and his own abuse. And all this was brought home, spending back again in what I call the city where I grew up. Any other question?
We were looking at some of the accommodations they had for the employees back then, and they didn't have beds for them. So, and they worked, what, 20 hours a day or something, enough for their food. And so they had a rope strung across the room, and that would be where they would sleep. You would just hang your body, your waist, this waist-high rope, you'd hang your body over it, and that's how you would rest, apparently. And that's how they got the name flop houses.
It's
You
known
would
as
flop your body over a rope.
There's a lot of history in British culture that is not, they don't like to speak about it, but it's actually a sense of how the nation is built up. It's like, when Queen Victoria used to have a bath once a year, it was a public knowledge. It was announced that the Queen had a bath today. Like you celebrate the birthday of the Queen, public knew when the Queen Victoria had a bath. It was announced because she washed herself once a year, put it that way. But the strangest thing is the miners wash themselves every day. And the people who work in the mills, because it was so dusty and everything, they wash themselves every day. There was a, metal tub. They filled it up with the water, and they had to wash the soot and the dirt off, otherwise they couldn't even see what they're eating, put it that way. And then after the father washed himself, then they washed the mother, if she could wash, and then the children, and it started with the age, and the last one was the baby of the house, washed in the same tub, same water. So a miner was washing more than the Queen. But the story we say, don't throw the bath water with the baby, because the water which the father washed himself coming from the mine was so black, you couldn't see the baby washing. And many times they threw the water, the baby was still in the water, was thrown away. Now it becomes the expression in English. We say don't throw everything out without knowing what you're doing. So you talk about the rope. There is a lot of history in the history of the British Empire, which was a very falsified empire, all by image of one palace in London, and didn't give the truth. You know about the story of the Queen and the Tupperware. You know what Tupperware is? Tupperware is these plastic boxes which has a little lid on plastic lid, and it's for poor people or common people to, store food. It used to be very fashionable in 1970s, 80s. And somebody broke into the palace and sat with the Queen across the bed while she was having a breakfast. And then says, oh, Queen eats out of Tupperware, not out of the gold plates and things they tell us, because she's so poor. So don't get fooled by the palaces. Inside is empty. It's very, very interesting. We have a good expression in English for it. We say fair coats and no knickers. It looked to be very expensive coat, but they don't have the clothing to wear underneath of it. You just look at the outside, what a beautiful fair which was stolen from the others. And then to get that fair code, you go to a flea market. The flea market, it was where they used to sell the second hand and everything of the fair where the fleas used to live in it. So you didn't buy a fair coat, you bought a coat which was full of fleas.
Okay. Free fleas.
Free
fleas at the flea market.
Flea market. That's where the flea market comes from. I think Dean can tell you more about that. And this is what I say. Sorry about that. This is what I say. When you speak a language, you have to understand the essence and the culture of it. And talking English about the language is very different than living inside it. And living in England, you get partially the essence of the culture and the life. And living in that way with the English community, you learn a lot about them and about the beauty of their culture and the pitfalls of the culture. Any other question?
Okay, we had a question, a Manchester question here from Alexandra, the Brazilian community. Says in the teaching of the 499th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, you said that the meeting in Manchester will close like the Last Supper. How can our souls understand these words? I would like to put my question into context with a short passage from the Bible, which says that in Luke's Gospel, Jesus says the following at the Last Supper: I have longed to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat again until it is fulfilled in the kingdom of God, and I will not drink of this wine until the kingdom of God comes. Would you like to speak a little more to our hearts about your quote on the Last Supper? Thank you, Mr. Keshe, for all your love and for not giving up on us.
Being on both, I can explain what it means, both on the time of Christ and the time of the man. In essence, last week, as is tradition with the Keshe Foundation, when we have conferences, when we have meetings, public meetings, for sessions of days or weeks, whatever, the last night after the last session, we always invite the knowledge seekers to eat together. We call it, it's become tradition known as a Last Supper. So last Friday night, all the knowledge seekers, before they leave back to their home, and one of the knowledge seekers left literally at the end of the order during the food because he had to catch his bus or train to go back. We eat together and we enjoy the time, celebrating the time we spend together. Is known as the Last Supper in the Keshe Foundation. If you've been with us around the world, we always have this tradition. Traditionally, we end up in a Iranian restaurant. This time, because of the position, it was easier to go to an Indian restaurant, which is another favorite food of mine. And as we had the Last Supper, but during the course of the week was the Last Supper. It was the beginning and end of the past, beginning of a new cycle. For those who understood, expansion of the soul, understanding of, and in a way we woke up with, or we try to wake up our knowledge seekers in a way to understand the operation of the soul of the man for transmutation and transportation. We had the last joys of physical dimension, and we entered dimension of, as you say, I eat in a different dimension. Many knowledge seekers in the session understood and they got touched by the new knowledge. And in a way, it was important to be felt. It wasn't there to teach. The purpose of last week was for knowledge seekers to come in touch with the understanding, the feeling of their soul. And that was why we brought, as I call the L-plate systems, for them to do, to understand their own way of doing it and when he understood. And then the next cycle is the dimension of the bringing to physicality and the motion of the man. And so, in a way, in 1 week, we went through the sessions of what we call completion of, beginning of a new way for man to live and closure of the past. But it takes time for man to go through it and to understand it and to implement it. It was a beautiful week because usually we get in conferences and things a lot of mixture of things. But this meeting was all people more or less totally focused on what it was. It was very easy, what you call it, transfer of knowledge at the emotional level, at the level of the soul. And it was amazing to see how we had a couple of youngsters with us, the maturing soul, but we had knowledge seekers who are deep knowledge seekers, understand, that are well versed in the work of the soul. It was a very mature meeting, extremely mature meeting, and it made it so easy to go through the Last Supper, as I call it, the beginning of the new race of man to be flourished. And that's the best example of it. I can put in what you ask. New horizons, new understanding, new first time drinking from the energies of the universe through the soul of the man. As Christ said, when I wake up next time. And now we awaken the soul of the man to that knowledge. You will see more and more of it. The London conference, and those of you who attended, will not be to tell your grandchildren I was there. You'll tell the man of universe I was there when it took place. Because that's the time of transition. You have to feel it. You have to be in it. When, in a way, I stood in it with the Chinese militaries in China past few weeks ago, I thought, I wish man could understand what I'm doing to them, because they will not change a second of this for all the wealth on this planet. Any other question?
Yes, we had a question from Utah regarding, you once said that a vegan diet can cause problems after 10 years. Can you say something about this?
I sat in front of a vegan to have a dinner very recently. And I thought, what can I tell? To bring regrets or create an enemy? I sat across a vegetarian called, a lot of us know, a few years ago. And after I finished, a couple of days later, he said, Mr. Keshe, I can't be a vegetarian. I start eating meat. I have spoken about this in depth in some of the teachings, some of the health teachings in the past. Our body, physical body, is a accumulation of millions of years of what I call evolution. We have adjusted our bodies according to the environment we eat, we live, and is available to eat. And majority of us in the Western world, maybe a couple of centuries ago, meat was a luxury if we could get access to it. We were vegetarian. Because in the cities getting meat was expensive, and in the villages to grow up the meat was luxury. Christmas occasions, you slaughter the pig or whatever. The generation of man today is very much through the luxury of being able to have to eat, has added the meat into the structure of the body of the man in past century. Our children, from the day born, with milk, and then, which is the essence of life. And then they deny that access to that life. So they shoot themselves in the foot from day one. You become vegan. I don't touch dairy. You are made of it. The first thing you took in your body is the milk of the mother, the love of the care of the creator. And then you deny it. So you're stopping a juggernaut going down the road 120 kilometers an hour to a stop. Because you made from that day decision, I'm not taking any more whatever. Even with your vegetarians. Then this process has a knock-on effect. You put a brake on in your head. You haven't put a brake on in your body. Now, body has to go through a transition. In one go, I'm vegetarian it's become fashionable. I'm become a vegan, it's become fashionable. You become a vegan in a very short time. And we already have start seeing diseases, psychological pattern. We start seeing changes in the body which body cannot respond to. And then we have to create other conditions for it to cover it. And now we come up with we'll see the vegans are children of the West. We have vegans in India and other places because they never ate meat. Even they're not called vegan, but still drink milk or whatever. This, no dairy, no eggs, blah, blah. Body used to go at the speed of 120. You decide in your brain to pull the plug. Body now has to adjust. And then we'll create mayhem. We see a specific psychological pattern with these kind of children who suddenly become fashionable to be vegan. We notice something very interesting. We're talking about very recently with knowledge seekers. As you know, I spent a lot of time in China. And I live in a very affluent part of the Beijing. And the same when we are in Sanya, is in what you call China Sea. You notice very slim girls. All we looked at, very slim. You're talking size 6 and 4 and 8 if you're talking in Western sizes. And they're all gathered in a certain area of Beijing. All educated, all money at availability. Or they come from the golden spoon and silver spoon dimension. But when in the middle of summer, you go with the heat of summer, literally, if you lived in Beijing, Chinese tell you, it's a murder. 40 degrees, 35, but the special heat, breathing is hard. You go to the clothing, ladies' clothing shop, you find winter clothing during the summer in most of the shops. What is this? Could not be sorted. One of the knowledge seekers cracked it, and then with research or whatever, now we understood. These girls and these guys starved themselves. And then we were sitting in the restaurant, and I watched a very slim girl, size 6, 8, and I was sitting in another position, the same, that they keep on pulling something up. They're not actually size 6 and 8, and they're size 8 and 10. They put the body in a corset to be slim because it's fashionable. And those who actually starve themselves to be bone and skin, body has no blood. They need these warm winter clothing to keep their body warm. in the middle of the summer. The secret of, what do you call it? Oh, winter clothes in the middle of summer in this area was unraveled. And actually they shake in the middle of the summer. The body has no blood to hold. And then now you imagine this body supposed to create the next generation of man. What defects we're going to see. What damages you're going to see psychologically, because the mother is already psychologically damaged, the father is psychologically damaged. What child they're going to create? It's the same with the vegans. It's the same with those who suddenly try to be vegetarian. You want to be a vegetarian, you want to be a vegan, you plan it over 5 years, 10 years, step by step. And even that has its own dilemmas with it. And then the truth is, I'm vegan. I only eat rice and noodles and the vegetable. I'm proud to be a meat eater. I kill one animal, one soul. Every grain has a soul. You kill thousands of souls. You are more criminal than I am. And then you call me a meat eater, a killer? One grain has enough life to it that when you sow it, it creates 100 grain, 100 new lives. And in a bowl of rice, you put 10, 100, 500 of it, and you chew it so happily. I'm a vegetarian, I'm vegan. This is the story of Mr. Einstein and the speed of light being the maximum speed. This is the speed of idiocy of a new generation of the man has put no speed and no limit to it, and they call it vegan and vegetarian. And the damages create. To be a vegan, to deny milk you're born out of, is a lot of reverse psychology. A lot of advertising on television. Then denying the essence of what you came out of, God forbid where the soul is going to go. So, this, if you're born as a Buddhist, if you're born, your body over time in the area you're born has prepared you in a slow way for it. You can't stop a juggernaut fully laden 24-ton because you decide to brake. The rest of the cars are going down the motorway, they're going to ram you in. One will be a cancer, one will be also psychological problem, and everything else which goes with it. And this is why we see so much psychological depression, suicide in the young generation. Most of them have gone through the process of the new fashion vegan, being size 6 because it's on the papers and newspapers, it has to be, and a vegetarian road, the path of life. If we educate our children the right way, you want to be a vegetarian, plan it over 10 years minimum, and I hope you're lucky you get away with it. We just look at it, I'm much healthier. See you down the line. When the new cancers appear, when new psychological pressures will come in, we see a lot of these new vegans, new wars of veganism and vegetarianism in the psychological and mental institutes. And it's growing. And governments don't know how to handle it. Because it's covered under another thing. I hope one day doesn't come that somebody says, I'm only plasmacist, I only eat plasma. God forbid that day. Any other question?
Ed had a question in our Q&A here. It says, hi, would it be all right to set up stalls outside of libraries showcasing highlights of the books by the Keshe Foundation and sales, not asking for anything, just be interesting to see it get out there for those that aren't aware?
Oh, you can do anything. First of all, if you can get hold of the books. So you got to come to arrangement with the Keshe Foundation. But in a way, knowledge has to be done that way. Maybe a slightly different way, but we have to reach the governments to be able to teach the new technology. And libraries will start at the beginning. Our bookshops is the beginning of the start of the sharing of the knowledge. One of our knowledge seekers wrote to me very recently, I was looking for the book, I don't know, 1 or 2, whatever, and I couldn't find it. I found it on the store, and I bought it as a second hand. I said, oh, the book has already been put in the store as a second, and somebody has read it and didn't want it. And but interesting thing is the book is signed. It's one of the very few books which are signed by me. And it's got a code number, and it's interesting. I could be bought in this what they call a second-hand shop book. People read it and put it out, or somebody died and they put all the books out because they didn't know what they had in their hand.
Bit of hidden treasure for somebody that's looking.
It's one of the knowledge seekers. He sent me the book. He said, I bought it online. It's bought from a second-hand shop. And the number and the signature and the date is on the book front page inside. There's very few of them because most of the signed books I signed has been confiscated and destroyed by the Belgian post office. They were told anything which goes from this place with this name, just hack it. They had a room, I think, somewhere storing. We signed the books. People said they never received it, and the Belgian king was laughing his head off. The more they blocked us, the more it went through. And we see a lot of it. Any other question?
Well, you have 1 or 2 more questions here from Nick V in the live stream. Mr. Keshe, can a soul of a man be taken out of the body and put in another body, or swap souls in special circumstances?
Come again?
Can
Have
a
you
soul
opened a soul shop?
Yes, can a soul of a man be taken out of the body and put in another body, or swap souls in special circumstances?
Oh, I heard about transplant of the heart and brain. This will be very interesting.
It might have a new name for a body shop.
You know, the shop's called Victoria's Secret. Now we have to open a new secret shop.
Anyway,
You know what they say
like
about the Victoria's Secret shops. The Victoria is Victor, not Victoria. That's what the secret is.
Okay.
Any other question?
Nick would like to confirm what you said a year ago, that Kamala Harris might take over from President Biden due to illness. It was shown in the Australian news today, he says.
There are a lot of reports about the state of Biden, and he has not been governing for some times. I gave an example of this to a knowledge seeker very recently. I said, you know, Biden, because of the present situation, cannot be shown. There's a huge problem with Mr. Trump and the rest of it, that he's not there because they can jump on it in so many ways. It's like the way we transferred the Keshe Foundation to Ella to run when she was young, years ago when we were in Ghana. I said to her, run the foundation in my name, as is my decisions, till you learn the ways, but nobody will know. And I said to them, is at the moment, White House is run the same way. If you remember, 5 or 6 weeks ago, there was a report of seeing a body bag to be taken into the White House. And then officials explained that Biden has already passed away. It was on the 4th of July. It could not be announced, but now it's become a norm. They're running it, and there are a couple of people who run as is double till they have the right place, right things in the position. There's a lot of talk about this, but how they're going to break it into public is a different way. Official government at the highest level, foreigners, have accepted that Biden is not in operation for weeks now. But we have to wait and see. Any other question? You got to understand, if she comes into power, it's not that if she's already in power, you will see a huge shift between China and America. As I explained before, she's a very pro-communist. This is one of the problems they have. How are they going to bring her out if she's there? She is extremely pro-China. You will see things we could not imagine. And knowing this, I have put the Keshe Foundation in that course of work. That once, if she comes into power, China and America are in a line to start a new world collaboration, stop being enemies, to work together, and we are there to bring the changes for it necessary to be done. And part of our work being in, what do you call it, in Amsterdam today is part of that initiative. A big part of it. We assume, we presume, if the elections of the next set goes to the next election, even if Biden's still operational, she'll come into operation. He cannot last a second, even we don't think he's already lasted. Official news at the highest level tells us he's not physically there for a few weeks. But the biggest problem is you have a black lady, in a way of a caste, with a very high influential Jewish background through her husband, with extreme sense of communism through upbringing of the parents. And this has created mayhem for the White House. And she's very outspoken. And we'll see a lot of things moving in all sorts of directions now. One thing, we have put the Keshe Foundation in the path of peace when she comes into power. We'll see a lot of things which now, encouraged by the White House, will diminish very rapidly. The situation with what we call the little island in South China Sea will be resolved amicably, and China is ready for it. They know what they have in their hand. Taiwan will be resolved within the next 5 years in a very, very different. We'll go back to the motherland. And it'll be not a confrontation, but a gift for peace. And Chinese leadership has prepared themselves for this transition. And if Pamela comes, and this is what they don't want, because Taiwan is a point of, they can sell arms to others, pushing China expansionism in the China Sea and the rest of it, this will die with her in power. She's extremely biased towards China and value of the life. And they have found some sort of balance between them. And we'll see a huge change in that direction. But she's in charge more or less for weeks. I was in a meeting with the very high-ranking officers when the death of Biden was leaked out. And they wanted to see how much we leak out, which we didn't leak out, we just watched it. But Biden has not been operational for a long, long time in the White House. And we'll see it. But there's a power struggle within the Tel Aviv and what I call Vatican and other part, how to handle black lady, deeply communist, came to power by selling her soul to the Jews, by marrying a Jewish guy, pre-planned, will look and operate the nation of United States. And this is not unraveled yet. We'll watch it. And it's a very good point. The way I see it, the way we see from the people we sit and eat and talk around the world with, Taiwan will be given back as a peace token by the Americans. In a way, not given back in the way we see it, but gradually withdrawing from all objections. And China is prepared to take Taiwan back within the next 5 to 7 years. Everything is set up for it. And this bring that. You got to understand some things we don't, in the world of common public, we don't see. But in the world of diplomacy and nations, they know, and they operate according to what they know, not what we see in public. I was in Korea in the spring of 2008, and as a delegation from the Keshe Foundation, and I had 2 or 3 breakfasts at my hotel by the invitation of the Minister of Unification of Korea. Talk about 15 years ago. And in one of these breakfasts, we were discussing how we're going to handle the North Korea and the rest of it, because I just came a couple of days before that, giving a lecture to the nuclear physicists of the South Korea, the nuclear center, a lot of them. And the president asked the minister to have a breakfast. We'll talk about how we can use the technology to unify the North and South. Of the talks on the breakfast was that he said the father of the present North Korean leader, he said he will die in such a time frame. And I looked at him, he said he's critically ill, it's not known in public, but he will die within this limit. And they were expecting for the other son to take over, not this son, but he switched to this son, the father, before he dies. And he said, we are expecting this, and maybe that's a position we can use your technology with his death in such time. I just listened to the conversation. Sometimes later, the president died in the frame they gave me. They knew how long it's going to last. And I thought, oh God, was it planned, or do they actually know because of the span of the illness and the condition he had, how long it was given? They knew of the death of their enemy years ahead because of his condition, health condition. So they know about the condition of Biden. The world leaders understand the situation, and they always have a duplicate running around to cover up till a solution is found. And it's quite possible he's not already there for a long time from the meeting I had some time ago. But we listen to a lot of these things, and one day will come up. Maybe he's still on the life support, maybe he still walks, but he will not, and he has not been in the decision seat for some time. And if he is, he will not be in the second term if the same party is going to take and hold seats. So we're going to have this woman sooner or later as the leader of the United States, but a lot of her work, due to work of her father and mother setting up the first Communist Party organization in the United States in a structured way, she's brought up in that mentality, and she always followed that mentality. It's a lion lying down. We are waiting in to see when he wakes up what he does. But as a gift, as a point of understanding, we know she will pull out of what we call it, the conflict in such a way, and see with the excuse of what you call Taiwan. And Taiwan will go back to motherland. And that will start a new process of peace between the nations, and there are a lot of things so with the arm race will change in that process. Any other question?
Well, I'm trying to see if there's anything left here.
We are nearly 12:30. We've been going for 3.5 hours.
Pretty much
what
covered it. Yeah, you've done well.
Please,
Okay.
those of you who participate tomorrow, make sure you can do the test or get the strips. It's very cheap. It's $1 or $2. You can get it from any chemist to test both. And those of you who join us on Monday, 11th and 18th for the fingerprint of your soul, you will learn more about yourself. And then we head on to London conference. And it'll be one of the most historical, what I call, shows ever, as is not, it will be seen, as I said, I want it to be done. It'll be felt by the ambassadors. So deep. It'll be felt by the representatives or people who are there. The whole session will touch the soul of the man, and the physicality will talk. In a way, in a very packaged way, I explained to the knowledge seekers who were in Manchester what is going to be the essence of the London conference. And it'll be kept in one of the most prestigious places for conferences in London, the city centre. And we'll see how it'll come, and we'll start promoting it in the next 2-3 weeks, even in the media. In the knowledge seekers had enough time to take their seat, or what you could take their position to be in the conference. We leave it open for a few more days, a couple of weeks, and then we close to the knowledge seekers. And then you have to go through the public panel, and the price will go directly to 5,000 per seat for that venue. And we already know it'll be sold out because it goes to the agencies who work to these things. We give everything to the professionals. We don't leave it for us. Scientific organizations, heads of corporations will be invited to be there to see and how it's going to affect their operations and their industry. And then we build up to Beijing conference, and we'll see where we go. Thank you very much indeed. And we'll see some of you tomorrow, and a few of you again on Monday. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Thank you very much, Rick. And it was nice to be back to Manchester last week, because it brought a lot of things home and a lot of beauties. In the next few hours, we will announce through the Dutch channel connections if any of the Dutch knowledge seekers would like to meet us to have another coffee after a few years, or new knowledge seekers want to meet through our as a council member, and through the structure of the Netherlands community, through our people will be put across. We wanted to keep it very quiet, but what do you call it? We are in a position, we expected to be in Holland for maybe maximum 2 days, but due to negotiations it's taken longer. So we were hoping to do it on Tuesday night before we leave, but now, well, next 24 or 48 hours, and it'll be announced through the channels. If anybody would like to have a meeting with us, we meet and we'll see back. Thank you very much indeed, and see you tomorrow.
Okay, yes, thank you, Mr. Keshe. And thank you everyone for being here for the 502nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, September 7th, 2023. And our next public teaching workshop is the public testimonials meeting, and that's on Monday, the 11th of September coming up. And that starts at the 8 p.m. Central European Summertime slot. People are welcome to bring their testimonials of the plasma technology or come and listen to others as they tell the tale that they have to tell. We also have on the 12th, on Tuesday, coming up, the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice with members of the Universal Council, and that starts at 4 p.m. Central European Time, all on the same usual Zoom channels. Okay, I think that's it for announcements and whatnot. And we'll go out again with our flight enhancement spaceship unit music version. And we'll see you all in the next public teaching workshop.